Welcome to Stop Dating Losers. Don't forget to go to my website for free relationship coaching and so much more. Share this video with everyone you know and let us begin, shall we? All right, first comment of the show. Needing someone and wanting someone are two completely different things. Know the difference. Well, when you're truly in love, you need your partner and you also want your partner. So I don't see the difference when you're in love. I have to start with that right off the bat. Now, if somebody needs you because they need something from you, they don't necessarily want you, but they want to use you, then yes, needing is completely different than wanting. And if somebody wants you, but they don't necessarily need you, then that's also trying to take advantage. So it's almost like a vice versa case scenario. It depends what kind of toxic person you're talking about. Because if one needs you as a resource, then they also want you as a resource because they want to use you for that need. So there's combinations as well. We can go a little bit into it, but there's not really much more to go into. It's an either or a hybrid. But either way, you can't state this about a good-hearted person wanting to do something good, who really does want to fall in love with someone. So I don't really like statements like these when they're shouting, know the difference. The differences should be obvious. When somebody truly loves you, they want you so bad that they need you because they believe that you carry their heart and soul within you. They love you so much that they can't imagine living without you. So they do need you. And they want to be with you. So that's the ideal case scenario. How about you just focus on that for everybody reading this? Instead of all the different, 21 flavors of toxic people out there who have one or the other or a combination of both. Let's go ahead and move on to the next comment, shall we? All right. Bad women are attracted to heartless men and push away the guys who will do anything for them. Okay, this is classic. Once they were dumped, they will say all men are the same, but won't admit they chose a jerk over a nice guy. Have you experienced this? Yeah, this is where the famous saying, nice guys finish last, evolved from. Now, just because it's true for many cases doesn't mean it's a blanket statement for all men to don't be a nice guy, be a jerk, because, well, the guy's stating it right here. The heartless man. Well, if you have a heart, you can't be heartless. Even if you wanted to act like a jerk and be a jerk, it's just not in your blood. You're not capable, no matter how much you try, because you have a conscience. And people with a conscience, they're conscientious of everything that they're doing. They say, they think, even their thoughts. They police their own thoughts, which is a good thing. It means you care about the things you say, the things you think, because there's toxic thoughts that can affect you and your relationship, by the way, because if you're constantly thinking in a negative way, that's going to affect both of you, right? Because it affects the things you might say, fear and doubt, maybe thinking too much into something that's clearly not true, and you're thinking it's something else when it's not, something negative. So, yes, you can't be a jerk because you try to be a jerk. You're either a jerk or not. And usually jerks are immature, they're highly immoral, they're selfish, they're everything negative you can imagine, just completely toxic. But now, let's talk about the women who choose the jerk over the nice guy. That's their problem, not yours. There's always going to be men who choose toxic women and women who choose toxic men. You won't be able to change that. It should have no bearing on your life. You can know that it exists, but it's pretty much common sense. You know that there's people out there, trying to hurt others. But you can't pay attention to that if you're trying to find the one for you, or you're trying to work on your relationship, which maybe is struggling. You can't add a fuel to the fires that don't pertain to you. You're not in that fire. So let other fires burn around you. It is what it is. You can't prevent them. You can't save people. You can try to give them positive advice, but in the end, they got to take action, right? So these sayings that we encounter, once they are dumped, they will say all men are the same. Yeah, because they're coping. They're coping with their pain and their loss. So like I said, it doesn't have to be applied to your life just because these things, these bad things are happening all around us. Focus on yourself. Okay, so you're saying, have you experienced this? Well, it makes me wonder if you've experienced it. I mean, why do you care so much? You already know it exists. That should suffice. Of course, people have experienced this, but it's not productive to talk about it. So why even bring it up? And, you're talking about toxic women, not real women who are really looking for a potential lifelong partner. So, like I said, this has no positive use whatsoever. It's just propaganda for the gender war, and it goes nowhere. All right, next comment here. I tried relationships with handsome men. I tried relationships with not so handsome men. I recommend getting a vibrator. Okay, absolute loser. Woman, right? I really hesitate to call her a woman. She's a toxic female. An absolute loser. You do not want... This is just, like I said with the previous comment, just ignore these toxic losers, okay? She's upset because she hasn't found the one to be happy with. And that's everything in life. So what is she going to say? Well, doesn't matter if you're a handsome man or you're a not so handsome man. Doesn't matter. She can't get any satisfaction from either one. So all she's admitting here, she sounds like, she thinks that she sounds like she's so cool and in charge. But imagine obsessing and glorifying a vibrator, a sex toy, and admitting to the world that you are a failure when it comes to relationships. That you, out of all the millions and millions of people, which you won't even have a chance to be a candidate with. You can't date a million people in this world. Not even Mick Jagger. Okay? Of all the people in this world, you're just shouting out into the void on social media how much of a loser you are by saying that you actually recommend getting a sex toy to replace something that other people have that you're jealous of, clearly. Because a vibrator, let me tell you, that's not equivalent to having a passionate, loving man by your side. You might get you're going to get the same vibrations over and over, no matter how good technology is with new sex toys. It's not going to have the warmth of a real man, the touch, the passion, to make you feel like your soul is just alive, to feed your soul. A vibrator will never be able to do that. So how naive and how ridiculous it is as a toxic woman to say this, because you're also saying that you're in pain and that you're a failure. That's all you're saying. So handsome man, you're trying to insult men, whether they're handsome or not, saying it's hopeless. All men are useless. I'm just going to get a vibrator. Well, enjoy those vibrators, because that just bolds out how much of a loser you truly are. It really solidifies it. So have fun celebrating your birthdays alone with your vibrator, the holidays alone with your vibrator. I hope you have interesting, fulfilling conversations with your vibrator. Watch TV, Netflix, and chill with your vibrator. You get the point? All she's saying is that she's completely alone. Even if she has a pet cat, are you going to have interesting conversations with your cat? Does your cat really care about you, or does it care that its bowl gets filled every morning and day multiple times? You see what I'm getting at here? You cannot ever replace a loving man who will devote his heart and soul to you for your entire life, to be by your side. So it's a shame that toxic women like this, they have severe attitude problems, and they'll never ever know what it'll truly feel like to be loved and adored with someone who really loves them. It's really sad. And even as the saying go, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Yeah, but this is worse than that, because she's saying I don't care about loving and losing and than to never have loved at all. She doesn't even know what love feels like. Imagine that. Just let that sink in. It's really sad, isn't it? Let's go ahead and move on. So, like I said before, when people say these ridiculous things, they think that they're so cool that they're that they're going to get support, and sadly a lot of them do. They get thousands of thumbs up, replies exclaiming the same, and they're just saying how much of a loser they really are, and it's actually the exact opposite. Somebody needs to give them the clue. All right, next quote or comment here. Men are rarely held accountable for manipulating women into relationships by faking their personalities. Okay. Sorry to tell you, sweetheart, but it works both ways. There's lots of women manipulating men into relationships where you're playing a fake persona. And rarely held accountable. Men are always held accountable, just like women are, for faking their personalities, because the personality is the heart of the relationship. How you choose to think, what you choose to say to each other, how you guys feel and think about each other. I mean, it's you can't, like the previous comment with handsome men, that's only skin deep. The personality is where the real soul is, that really shines. That's the real value of a person, is their personality. What are they capable of doing with you and to you? That's nothing but love and positive and shows strength and devotion, strong desires, everything. So once again, the woman who said this is only pointing out the fact that she's a loser and she doesn't deserve at this moment, unless she does a drastic 180, a complete turnaround, a U-turn with this negative attitude. She's just proving that, hey guys, I'm a loser who thinks that, men are not being held accountable, for manipulating women into relationships with, by faking their it doesn't even make logical sense here. Whining and complaining about men not being held accountable. I mean, do you want to be a dictator in charge of that? You see how much of a low life we're dealing with here? All right, not worth any more time with that one. Let's go ahead and look at the last comment of the show, shall we? My goodness. But you see how losers, they formulate these completely just useless comments and quotes. Why is it that people who value relationships too much do not find people who value them as much? Okay, fair enough. It is not a tragic reality. It's something that's to be expected. This is gonna happen. I mean, the whole world is nothing but a huge bowl of soup. It's all interconnected. You're gonna find a little bit of everything, or a few things that are very common. Yes, absolutely. If you value relationships, you should obviously, logically, I mean, it's elementary we're talking about here, maybe preschool, naturally find somebody else who also values relationships. But to sit there and complain about it, or to be stuck in melancholy, to be depressed about the fact that, lesser and lesser people value relationships. Why? Because nowadays people don't, they don't have the same wisdom as our ancestors did. They didn't value love as much as they do, today. Like, our ancestors valued love tremendously compared to today. Nowadays, they just don't care. Many of them, an alarming number of people, men and women, they just don't care to talk about how to make a real relationship work. They treat relationships like a Rubik's Cube, and they try to, do mental gymnastics. What do I say? How do I behave? Where do I go? How do I, yes, these are logical questions, but you should be able to answer them on your own. Yeah, you can ask somebody like me with free relationship coaching, which I provide on my website. Absolutely. Send me messages asking me anything you want about relationships and what you should do, what you should say, all different types of scenarios. But if you truly value relationships and you want one of your own, either you're involved in a current relationship or you're single and you're having difficulty finding somebody to possibly spend the rest of your life with, because I'll tell you what, that's the greatest gift in this world, in this life, is to have somebody that you can say 100% with absolute certainty and trust that this person loves me with all their heart and soul, and I do the same for them. It's all reciprocated. That's the greatest gift that one could possibly want. It it reminds me of Mariah Carey saying, "All I want for Christmas is you." That should be year round, not just for Christmas. All I want in my life is you. When somebody can tell you that, it's the greatest gift. That's why they call it the present, because it's happening now. You can unravel this gift every waking day of your life if you find the right person. And if you're struggling with your current relationship, maybe it's not too late. Maybe it is too late and you have to cut it off because there is no hope. You're just with the toxic person. You guys are just too incompatible. Irreconcilable differences, whatever it may be. But if you have an ounce of hope, sometimes that ounce can multiply into some serious hope. So with that said, for this comment, yeah, it's not always that people who value relationships are going to find people who don't value. Of course, it's like a rose in the desert, but it doesn't have to be that extreme. And, if you're struggling to find someone where you live, if you're single, then that just means that maybe that's not the right place for you. You have to move cities, move states, or move countries, or move continents. But you got to do it for yourself. And if you say, but my job, but my house, but my car, and I don't know, you got to figure that out, because how important is love in your life? Because if you turn your back on that deep desire to be happy forever, because true love is the only path to true happiness. Anybody who says otherwise is lying to themselves. But if that's what you really want, you have to do what it takes in order to achieve that only state of happiness that exists. When people say they're happy living alone, they're lying. And the sad thing is they know they're lying to themselves and to the world. And they know other people who do the same are going to agree with them. And that's how that saying that, oh no, I'm happy in, living alone, I don't need anybody. That's how people live miserable lives. Many of them cry themselves to sleep, and many of them live in this kind of trance of loneliness and misery. And it is really sad, but I can really talk on and on about that. But with that said, this has been a quite interesting episode of Stop Dating Losers. So if you have a comment that you would like for me to go over on this show, please put it down in the comment section down below. This has been Coach Ben's Stop Dating Losers. Much love, everybody.